So it's been a long time since I made a video, but I've decided that this year I'm gonna make a lot of videos, sharing a lot of information, and it's for a couple of reasons, right? So the first one is that even though I wasn't making videos, I've been talking to a lot of people here in Ireland offline and trying to help them with their problems, either with respect to employment or visa, or in general about education. And there are some common problems that I've started to see, which are bigger problems when it comes to immigrants, that I'll talk a little bit in the next couple of videos. And in this one, I'll particularly talk about Stamp 1G visa. But yeah, before starting on any of that, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment. I'll try and answer those in the next couple of videos. I do promise to make a lot of videos this year, so I'll work on that. But other than that, I hope everyone's keeping well. And yeah, let's talk about Stamp 1G visa and a couple of things I want to give as an advice. And I guess it's more to do with some of the complications that I've seen in the last few years with the Stamp 1G visa. So what is a Stamp 1G? It's a graduate visa. Graduate visa is something you get once you complete your master's, and it's a visa for you to look for a job, to work, etc. Before, when I arrived in Ireland, it used to be for 1 year, but now it's, in the last few years, it's been issued for 2 years. So you complete your master's and you get 2 years to look for a job and work, etc. Now it's definitely beneficial, right? Because 2 years is a good time for you to look for a job and sort yourself out. Plus, the best thing I find about that visa is that if you do get an offer, you can immediately start to work with the employer. So it's definitely beneficial. Now, in the last few years, like personally, I knew that there are some complications to it, but in the last few years, I've been talking to some people. I can't take their names. It might get them in trouble, or also from some of them, I don't have kind of the thumbs up on taking their names. So keeping that aside, right? Like, I've been talking to some people, and there are some common problems around the Stamp 1G. Let me give you a scenario, and I'll try and cover some of those common problems that people have discussed with me in the scenario, so that you get an idea of what's going on, right? So the scenario is that, let's say I graduate, and once I do graduate, I get my Stamp 1G visa, which is for 2 years. So I can look for jobs, etc. Let's say I apply for jobs and I finally get a job. So somebody's happy to employ me, and I've been offered, and I accept the offer, so I can start work on straight away. So I start working, right? And one thing I do tell my employer is that I have 2 years of Stamp 1G, so no problems. I don't need any sponsorship right now, but in the future, when my 1G is about to expire, I would need sponsorship. And let's say the employer has promised to sponsor my visa, and as time goes by, let's say my performance has been good and I'm doing very well at work, but as time goes by, the visa application has not been made yet. I've been kind of telling my employer, hey, time's running out, we need to make an application. But the employer instead, just before the expiry of my Stamp 1G visa, decides to either let me go based on some performance issues, or based on some other reasons which may not necessarily be valid, but figures out a way to let me go, right? Second is, just does not sponsor my visa, giving some of the other excuses, delaying my process for the application. Or sometimes just decides to not do a sponsorship and says to me that, hey, we cannot sponsor you, we're sorry about that. So these are actually happening with people, where promises are being made based off the Stamp 1G visa. People are made to work for until they can, and some of the employers are kind of misusing the time they get of somebody who's graduated to work. And not every graduate is a fresher, right? Like, a lot of people come with a lot of experience as well. They can bring a lot of skills and they do a lot of work, but at the end, it's that sponsorship that you need to continue working. And some of the people I spoke with, right, have run into this problem where they're either running out of time for their work permit application, or they are kind of let go at the very wrong time. So these sort of problems are not good for for us And if that happens, let's say in my scenario, if that happened to me, I have very little or no time to look for another job and figure out a way to be, legally working in this country, and it's not easy. So my advice here for anybody that is graduating or is on a graduate visa or is going to be in the future, right, is make sure that you at least have 6 months of buffer with your employer when it comes to applying for your work permit. So let's say your visa was expiring in 2 years. You work for a year and a half, but at least 6 months before the expiry of your stamp 1G, make sure you make an application. You have to push the employer for making your application. Let's say, ideally, I would suggest that you should start that conversation within the first 3 months of your employment. If you're doing good at work and you're performing, first 3 to 4 months is enough for the employer to know that you're a good performer. And you can always push for letting them know that this is very important with respect to timelines and figuring out yourself with being legally working in the country. You're going to hear a lot from the employers that, hey, you're still on your graduate visa, we have a lot of time, don't worry about it, we will make an application. Sure, that is 100% right, but what if the employer lets you go or something doesn't work out in the future? Then you are kind of in a problem. So you have to stick with your kind of plan and try to push your employer to make the application at least within the first year of your stamp 1G if you're working with the employer. Do not delay it. Try to get that out of the way, so that way you can focus on your work, and at the same time there's no problems in the future with your visa or any other documentation. If you have any further questions on this, or if you've run into any such problems, please let me know in the comments. And like I said, if you've got any other questions in general, let me know and I'll try and answer those. I hope this will help some people, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks.